good evening, Belize, and welcome to XTV's news broadcast for Monday, May 26, 2025. Making the headlines tonight, GOB introduces constitutional amendment to legalize SOEs. Tracy Panton delivers maiden address, rebutting budget as first woman opposition leader. DPM provides updates on standoff with public sector workers union, and traffic accidents and violence claim multiple lives over the weekend. We take our first break and return with the news in detail.
Make light
Welcome back with your news. I am Drea Espinosa. The Briceño administration has introduced a constitutional amendment to legalize anti-crime SOEs in the wake of two conflicting high court judgments which have left the government in a quandary about the legality of the measure. While an appeal of the decision adverse to the government can take months, the government is trying to get ahead with their 13th constitutional amendment as an SOE is ongoing. Here is Prime Minister John Briceño providing an explanation for the bill.
Madam Speaker, it is no secret that successive governments have used the public emergency powers provided to the state by the Constitution of Belize in the interest of public safety or public order, or for the purpose of preventing, detecting, or controlling crime in the country. The data shows when an SOE is declared, crime goes down dramatically, especially murder. But, Madam Speaker, two recent decisions of the High Court of Belize have left a state of uncertainty about the use by the state of this measure as of the public emergency powers to prevent, detect, or control crime in the country. Madam Speaker, the pronouncements of the respective judges are conflicting. This creates difficulties for the government, for any government. Firstly, the state has a responsibility to uphold the rule of law, which includes the state abiding by the court orders or pronouncement. The state clearly cannot abide by both decisions. The purpose of the law is to create certainty. Uncertainty in the law is an anathema to law and order. The uncertainty in the law, therefore, cannot persist uncorrected and therefore must be addressed. I have publicly stated that the government will appeal the recent decision handed down by Judge Nabi. It's Nabi, right? Nabi. Such an appeal, however, could not come from hearing for at least 9 months from now, in March of 2026, in the March 2026 Court of Appeal session. The state of uncertainty in the law cannot persist uncorrected for such a long period. And so, Madam Speaker, this is why I'm here this morning introducing this Belize Constitution, the 13th Amendment Bill 2025, because legislative intervention is necessary.
The Prime Minister then detailed some of the changes the 7 clauses of the bill contemplate.
These proposed amendments to the Belize Constitution to make new provisions include: 1, a new Section 18A empowering the Governor General on the advice of the National Security Council to make an order on reasonable grounds and in the interest of public safety, public order, and for the purpose of preventing, detecting, and controlling crime, that a designated area is a special area and limit the rights of citizens within this area for a specific period. So now, there will be a constitutional requirement that before the Governor General acts, this is done on the advice of the multi-sectoral body, which includes the heads of our law enforcement apparatus personnel, the Commissioner of Police, the General from the BDF, and also the Commandant from the BDF, and also the Coast Guard. Members of Cabinet, myself as included as Prime Minister, the Minister of Defense, Home Affairs, Foreign Affairs, and the Attorney General. And the advice must be based on reasonable grounds. This is the same threshold that courts look to in order to be satisfied that an SOE was justified. This new section is separate from the current SOE provision in the Constitution.
The bill also features the establishment of a gun and gang court and to give retroactive lawfulness to anti-crime SOEs, which started in 2018.
3. A validating provision similar to the current Section 145 of the Constitution to make it clear that the proclamations of state of emergencies and regulations made since 2018, as well as all acts and things done by the state thereunder, are deemed to have been lawfully done.
The Prime Minister asked the opposition to also support the constitutional change. It was a historic moment today as Honorable Tracy Panton, as the first woman leader of the opposition, delivered her first budget rebuttal on day one of the marathon 3-day event. She described it as her maiden address and stated that a more appropriate theme for the 2025-2026 $1.78 billion budget would be, quote, performance poetry to policy pain, end quote. A hefty portion of Panton's presentation that lasted almost 2 hours focused on the lack of social protection programs undertaken by the Briceño administration in the face of the diminishing purchase power by an estimated 20% of the Belizean dollar at grocery stores. She listed the UDP's Boost and the Grocery Bag Assistance program that are now non-existent. Panton pointed to the need highlighted by international funding organizations to establish a social protection floor, not as a charity, but as a sound fiscal policy for national development that, quote, works when markets fail, when families are marginalized, end quote, and during and after pandemics and climate shocks which impact the productive sector.
Madam Speaker, we all sat and listened to almost 2 hours of rehearsed optimism, padded with selective statistics and proposals that are painfully detached from the lived experiences of ordinary Belizeans. Madam Speaker, the Prime Minister's budget entitled From Promise to Performance, carefully polished in delivery, did not take into consideration the pressing needs of the masses, or in particular, the most vulnerable and marginalized within our society. May we point out, Madam Speaker, that there is a widening gap between those who have and those who are desperately trying to make ends meet. Even the gainfully employed, Madam Speaker, must engage in what is commonly known to us as a side hustle. That is, a part-time job or occupation undertaken in addition to one's regular employment to offset the escalating cost of living. The main issue is clear. The budget is insubstantial and lacks vision, offering more spin than solutions.
Panton questioned the government's statistics on unemployment and inflation as she pointed to recent cases involving people stealing food. She also called on the PUP administration to tackle corruption.
I hope to make the case on behalf of all Belizeans that the numbers presented by this Briceño administration does not, and let me say that again, does not signal performance. Rather, it reveals a government that is obsessed with spending and allergic to accountability, reform, and measuring the economic impact of their failing social protection policies. In this fiscal period, Madam Speaker, revenues are projected to rise by $94 million, but half of this depends on uncertain grants. Meanwhile, expenditures increases by $118 million, relying heavily on external goodwill. Filling the pockets of cronies is where this government priority lies. We have evidence of this. It seems on this side, Madam Speaker, that the government officials are working at orchestrating their own side hustle or retirement fund. This is the last run, you know. This is the last run. Go or no have to go. Come 2030, Madam Speaker, there will be a new heifer, a new boss lady in town, hired by the Belizean people. The greed, Madam Speaker, and this is greed, Madam Speaker, and corruption on steroids at the highest level.
Panton also expressed support for the 8.5% salary increase demand by the public sector workers. On a side note, Panton had to pause her budget rebuttal after standing for over an hour. Having undergone knee surgery months ago, the prolonged standing required that she take a brief break due to excruciating pain. A medical practitioner was brought in to assess her condition and confirmed that she was otherwise in good health, and she was able to continue her presentation. In an interview, the media asked her about the lack of empathy from members of the public and even some on the other side of the aisle.
I can't speak for others. I'm human. I'm not a machine. I have an injury that requires time for healing to take place. I could not stand on my feet for 2 hours. It's the first time I have tested it since having the procedure done on my leg. You know, I did everything to prepare to stand as long as I could. And I'm okay with that. You know, I'm okay with that. I don't know who celebrates that. It has to say something about a person that would show no empathy for a person who is actually human.
Including on the other side of the aisle, by the way.
That's their prerogative. I have always been extremely respectful of all my colleagues in this National Assembly. Certainly, I regard my colleagues on the opposition side very highly, but I've always been very mindful and concerned about my colleagues on the government side. And if they do feel that way, that would be regrettable. But it speaks about them. It doesn't say anything about me.
When the Deputy Prime Minister, Cordell Hyde, rose to make his contribution to the debate, he first addressed the historic significance of Panton's role as the first woman leader of the opposition, but thereafter quickly dismantled her criticism of the second Briceño budget.
I think it's a big deal. I think it's a historic, a giant step forward for women in electoral politics and parliamentary politics, and when you consider that this is only her third general elections victory and she was able to make history in such dramatic fashion, we must say congratulations. That said, the former leader of the opposition, who I believe is still the leader of the UDP, it's kind of complicated. I have to really think before I say it, but he had the luxury of saying that he wasn't in cabinet during the heyday of the UDP. But the present leader of the opposition doesn't have that luxury. She was there every step of the way. She was around the table every step of the way. She stamped, affirmed, provided imprimatur to all those decisions. She was there to watch scandal after scandal, and she said nothing. She was there as the last government squandered $500 million of Petrocaribe, whilst people standard of living deteriorated year after year, and she said nothing. And she was there as the last government squandered $600 million of oil taxes, and she said nothing. Not surprisingly, the member of Albert is in full support of the teachers' request for 8.5% and 2 frozen increments. But I need to remind her that back in 2016, when the teachers were asking for a mere 3%, she was not in support. In fact, I could recall on TV watching her going school to school, classroom to classroom in her constituency, urging the teachers not to strike.
For his part, Freetown Area Representative Francis Fonseca said Panton hardly put in any work into her rebuttal and alluded to the use of AI. In response, Panton said she can withstand the criticism, as she also responded to those who are saying that Panton herself has corrupt actors who form part of her alliance.
It's such in poor taste, and it's in poor taste because whoever they may be referring to have gotten a mandate from their constituency. And what Tracy Panton will not do is say to people in various constituencies that you don't have the right and the freedom to determine who you want your representative to be. I certainly have broad shoulders, and I have been able to and will continue to take the licks because we have to do things differently. And I believe I have the capacity, the ability, the experience, the expertise to do things differently. We're charting a new course. We're setting a new tone for this country. It will take time to get used to, but I am sure that is what the people are asking for.
Also, during today's budget debate, Deputy Prime Minister Cordell Hyde provided an update regarding the standoff with the Public Sector Workers Union, who are asking for an 8.5 salary increase, among other demands.
I left the meeting with the junta at the evening of Tuesday, May 13th, feeling heady that we had presented a proposal that we felt could work. We had avoided a breakdown in talks. We were headed in the right direction. Then I woke that night feeling a certain unease. This wasn't going to be easy. These kinds of things are never easy. It's a journey. It's about how you reach a place that we can all be comfortable with, at a rate that's acceptable to all. And that's the challenge, the pace, the speed of delivery, of change. Henry Kissinger once said, any deal means making compromises on both sides. If both parties are not happy, that means it's a good deal. Last Wednesday, May 21st, we formally presented in writing to the junta the proposal after Cabinet had accepted it. You all know the contents of that proposal, but I'll repeat it here for the benefit of all. Cabinet approved the execution of the General CBA framework to commence on June 18th, 2025, or any other date agreed upon by the parties. Cabinet approved the retroactive disbursement of funds to meet transfer grants due and owing, as agreed upon in the CBA of September 2021. Cabinet affirmed its commitment to an increase in minimum wage to $6 in accordance with our Plan Belize 2.2 manifesto commitment. Such an increase to come after the requisite engagement and consultation with all relevant stakeholders. On the matter of the request for salary adjustment of 8.5% and 2 frozen increments, Cabinet approved a 3% salary increase starting October 1st, 2025, an additional increment at the start of fiscal year 2026-2027. So in effect, a double increment will be issued then. Cabinet also authorized our negotiating team to engage and reach agreement with the junta on the matter of the remaining 5.5% salary increase and the second increment, subject to mutual agreement on measures related to pension reform, cost savings, and revenue enhancement.
For her part, the president of the National Teachers Union, Nadia Kalis, on Sunday evening provided an update on the voting by members on the proposal submitted by the government.
I must say that over 1,700 teachers accessed our platform between Friday and today. However, we're having a challenge because our teachers in Toledo Rural, and I'm talking specifically about the villages without internet access, they were unable to receive their paper-based ballots. So our current result is not complete because we need to ensure that we give those teachers the opportunity to vote. We don't want to disenfranchise them. We also had a couple of our teachers who were having technological issues. And so our council has decided tonight that we're going to give those teachers with technological issues the same opportunity that we're giving to our brothers and sisters in the remote areas of Toledo. So the polls will once again reopen, and we will close off on Tuesday. The BNTU has no problem extending the voting period because our sister unions are also voting around this time. So rest assured, members, we're doing all that we can to ensure that the vote from this union represents the majority. With that, I say good night, God bless, and I see you this week. Oh, by the way, we're once again wearing our green. We are wearing our green until this process is over. So it's a green week.
After the break, alcalde of Medina Bank fatally chopped to the neck. Stay with us.
Hi there. Are you on your phone right
The body of the alcalde of Medina Bank, Toledo, 50-year-old Romano Cal, was discovered Sunday night after 8 in an unfenced yard. The corpse was covered with 2 large garbage bags and a blanket. The body was observed with a deep chop wound to the left side of the neck. According to reports, Cal had gotten into an argument with his brother, Rafael Cal, about an hour prior to his body being found. There are also reports that Rafael's house was later set on fire. According to residents, Rafael has not been seen since. ASP Stacy Smith gave the media an update on the case.
Acting upon information, police proceeded to a residence in that village where the motionless body of Romano Cal, 50 years old, was observed. The body exhibited apparent chop wound to the upper part of the body. The scene was processed and he was transported to the Punta Gorda Hospital where he was pronounced dead on arrival. The matter is currently under investigation and police are seeking Mr. Rafael Cal, who is a relative of Mr. Romano Cal.
Any motive for why he chopped his relative?
No motive has been ascertained thus far.
Were they under the influence?
There is no indication of that so far.
Did they live together? Like, were they socializing together? Hanging out together?
The information that we have received suggests that Mr. Cal would have arrived at home and the incident occurred subsequent to that.
Had they had tumultuous relationship, like previously, any arguments that might have gotten violent previously?
The investigation is ongoing and statements are being recorded from the family member to ascertain that.
Other family members were around to witness the incident?
There is no information of that as yet, however, the investigation is ongoing.
On Monday, May 12, Selvin Seeley Jr. died under strange circumstances while in police custody. A post-mortem examination later confirmed that Seeley died from restraint asphyxia, that is, the obstruction of breathing as a result of a restraint technique. Last week, ASP Stacy Smith told the media that the matter has been directed to the office of the DPP and that the police officers suspected to have been involved have also been suspended. Today, she provided another update.
As it relates to the Seeley investigation, the department is still awaiting a statement from the examiner as to the nature of the injuries, and that will direct what charges will be levied and against whom.
Did the postmortem reveal that it was homicide and he died by asphyxia by restraint?
Yes, the postmortem did reveal that. However, the DPP office has directed a more detailed report from the pathologist.
And those officers remain on suspension?
Yes, they remain on suspension, and the parallel internal investigation continues. It is anticipated that as the directives are given, they will be placed on interdiction if so warranted, and subsequent actions will be taken.
The body of a man was found on Friday around 11 a.m. inside a well approximately 40 feet deep on a farm located some 2 miles from Nuevo San Juan, Orange Walk. The body was observed with a cut wound to the chest and was in an advanced state of decomposition. The body has since been identified as that of 49-year-old James Mendez, Belizean mechanic of San Pablo, Orange Walk. Mendez was reported missing by his family earlier in the week. They said he was last seen alive on May 20. ASP Stacy Smith told reporters that a motive is not yet known.
On Friday, May 23rd, at 11 o'clock a.m., acting upon information, police visited a farm in the Orange Walk district where they discovered the motionless body of 49-year-old James Mendez, a Belizean mechanic of San Pablo Village, Orange Walk. The scene was processed by scenes of crime personnel, and the body of Mendez was transported to the Northern Regional Hospital, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. Mendez was reported missing on Wednesday, 21st May 2025 by a relative who stated that the last time he was seen was on 20th May, when he would have departed his residence for a job.
Is it classified as a homicide or a death investigation?
It is classified as a homicide.
So do you have any idea why somebody might want to kill him?
We have no information in relation to that. The investigation is still ongoing.
The cause of death?
The cause of death has not been ascertained. However, an injury was observed to his chest area. The body now awaits a postmortem.
Mendez's son today told the media they were able to find his body due to vultures flying around the area. The family has no clue who could have attacked him. His son said that his father was always willing to help others and questioned whether someone who knew that fact used it to lure him to his death. He said the family will await the result of the post-mortem examination. In other police news, on Sunday morning, just after 6, a road traffic accident involving a motorcycle occurred on Luma Luz Boulevard in Santa Elena, Cayo. According to reports, 20-year-old Fernando Funes was driving a white Lifan 150 SL motorcycle along with a 16-year-old male passenger, Denver Jackson. As they were approaching the boulevard from the Santa Elena Bridge, Funes lost control of the motorcycle and collided into a utility pole. Funes and his passenger were transported to the San Ignacio Community Hospital for treatment. Jackson later succumbed from his injuries. ASP Stacy Smith revealed that Funes has been issued a notice of intended prosecution.
Information was received of a road traffic accident at the corner of Loma Luz Boulevard and the Trapiche area of Santa Elena Town, Cayo District. Upon arrival, a white in color Lifan motorcycle was observed, and some 32 feet away from the motorcycle was a male minor, namely Denver Jackson, who was observed with injuries to the upper part of his body and being treated by paramedics. Jackson was rushed to the San Ignacio Community Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at approximately 6:23 a.m. The scene of the accident was processed and the matter is under investigation. The police have issued a notice of intended prosecution in the matter to Mr. Fernando Funes, who is the driver of the cycle.
Okay, so he was riding Leon, or he was what?
That he was on the motorcycle along with Mr. Funes. That's the information that we have so far.
I guess they were urine samples taken?
Yes, urine samples have been collected.
Meanwhile, a fatal road traffic accident involving 2 motorcycles occurred late Sunday night in Ladyville, Belize District, near the Puma service station. According to reports, a woman who was reportedly pregnant perished in the accident. Her identity has not yet been revealed. According to initial investigations, 28-year-old Hector Soler was driving a red Ducati motorcycle and allegedly collided into the rear of a black Lifan motorcycle being driven by 24-year-old Francisco Cortez. Soler was found unconscious near the scene of the accident, while Cortez was observed with facial and leg injuries. The woman's body was found near the Lifan motorcycle. Police are investigating. After the break, teenager drowns in northern Toledo. Stay tuned.
Imagine getting rewards
A man drowned in the northern part of Toledo district on Saturday night. Reports are that 19-year-old Daniel Blum had gone fishing in San Pablo near the border with Stan Creek when tragedy struck. His body was found near midnight with fish tied to his waist. According to reports, Blum had gone fishing with Miguel Batts and Rolando Scholl. The men reported to police that Blum went about 100 yards from them while the group was fishing and went underwater, presumably looking for fish, but he failed to resurface. The men then began to search for him and were able to find his body, but he was unresponsive. Police are investigating. In other police news, a Corozal mechanic was shot to the right leg on Saturday afternoon while he was repairing a vehicle in his neighbor's yard. The mechanic has been identified as 37-year-old Alpheus Henry Jr. The incident occurred around 2 p.m. in the White Cocal area of Corozal town. According to Henry, he heard a loud bang coming from a nearby bushy area and then felt a burning sensation in his right leg. He was taken to the Corozal Community Hospital for treatment and is in a stable condition. ASP Stacy Smith told the media today that no motive has been identified.
No motive has been ascertained as yet. The investigation is still ongoing.
Do police believe he was the intended target?
We have not ascertained any information to rule that out.
He was alone in the yard?
He was at the residence of his friend who was also there at the time.
Okay, but he was the only one injured?
Yes.
On Sunday Review's latest show this past Sunday, co-host UEF chairperson Yaya Marin Coleman and Ako Matoda of Trinidad and Tobago were joined by Giovanni Pinello Sr., the senior research officer at the Social and Cultural Research ISCR of Niche, to discuss Africa Day. The day was previously observed as African Liberation Day. Marin Coleman did some research in Assad Shuman's book, 13 Chapters of a History of Belize, to learn more about Belize's liberation movement. She explained that while the working class uprisings in 1894 and 1919 were documented as riots, she explained why they were not.
People them knowledgeable, then get together, then plan, then execute, then wait for hear back from the colonial authority. Whether they agree or don't agree, then come back with a second action. So these are always, both the 1894 and the 1919 were not riots. They were Black people from below organizing and executing communal action in their best interest. But historically, it's documented as the 1894 riots. We, as more aware people, would say the 1894 uprising, rebellion of working class people. So they say, like this on page 131, that they had a lot of dissatisfaction among working class people in 1894 because there was reasoning about devaluing the money. Long story short. Now, this is something what I never knew, and most of we don't know, right? In 1887, one law get passed, and the Belizean merchants very active, landowners very active. But what I never know that they had, you know how we have 2-to-1 for US dollar, but we don't know what part that come from. That come from in 1887, they used the Guatemalan silver dollar or the sol as a legal currency, right? And so then they decided to change from the sol to gold, right? And when they make the change, then the value different. So when they hire the workers, let's say they tell the workers we are pay you 1 sol for your wages. When they change over, that sol dropped to 50 cents. But they never explain that to the workers, that they want to work like the same hours. Then don't they complain that the 1 sol never enough for them, and now they get even less value for the money what they work for.
She also shared how a movement involving the working class from Belize Town and Orange Walk Town helped the working class at the time gain fairer wages, and how such uprisings can be inspiring.
is that they keep saying that we that are real inhabitants of this colony, and that by if we sweat, make no make one profit. Then push back on not being paid enough for the work what they do. That merchants keep raising the cost of things when they go to shop go buy. And so so that's for Billy's tongue, right? But when so you say a few days later, the first sign of public dissatisfaction was that then the man to be paid the same in gold as they had been paid in salts, right? Because they want the same value. They only had limited success because government only agreed for paying at 60 cents to 1 sol. Remember, they paid 50 cents to 1 sol, but with the agitation, they gone up 10 cents more. It never enough, but I just to show you that they move the justice action leave it forward. Well, a few days later, one mutiny by members of the constabulary, which I mean a paramilitary force make up of primarily black Jamaicans and Barbudans, established in 1987 after the British was in their regiments. 17 of the men at Fort Monday in Orange Rock, me never even know they had such a place to Orange Rock, refused to accept the reduced pay. One, they said, no, they accept the reduced pay. They fired the authority of their white officers and moved to Belize Town, where on the 3rd of November, they were joined by 25 of their colleagues. Then take over the old army barracks and tell the Governor Maloney that they only want to lay down arms if they promise they want honorable discharge. Although the governor may already cable for warship Bakativ, he agreed to their demands and then quietly left the colony. Now, there must be a reason why the state not tell we them stories. The only thing I could think is that when you hear what your people do, while then they suffer, and the gains what they make, that it give you courage, it inspire you for organizing your best interests.
And the annual Cancer Walk was held on Saturday morning for Belize City and Ladyville. 2 buses were made available to transport participants from Belize City to Ladyville, where the walk began at 5 a.m. from Selena's Bar in Ladyville along the Philip Golson Highway and into main streets of Belize City, ending at the Belize Cancer Society's headquarters. The distance was some 9 miles in very warm temperatures and high humidity. Creme News XTV had a team at the walk, and we spoke with 4 participants: Karen Rosito, Dylan Flores, Alan Pollard Sr., and Andre Gillett.
So how long have you been doing Cancer Walk?
Listen, from the beginning of time, I personally knew Miss Juliet Soberanis.
Right.
So that's for tell you how long. So I would say years.
All right, what motivated you to get up early and be part of this meaningful event?
Well, as you know, on the whole, I believe I'm a fitness instructor. So literally I get up early most days, but for this one, which by the way is 9 miles of torture, I did it for the survivors and the ones who went early due to cancer.
All right, what message of hope would you like to share with those fighting cancer right now?
Hope that it's all about positivity. Wake up and think today is my day. Today I'm going to make it. Just be positive.
I'm an athlete, so this is probably basically something I used to do.
Okay. What message of hope would you like to share with those fighting cancer right now?
Well, I have a cousin who passed away from cancer, so also I want to shout out to the crowd and tell her just stay fit and be strong.
My grandmother and my niece and cousin they passed away from cancer, so I partake as much as possible now.
Okay. What message of hope would you like to share with those fighting cancer right now?
Just try to stay healthy as best as possible, man. The best thing we do is try to stay healthy. Try to walk at least 1 to 2 times in a week. Because it's necessary.
My mom, she's a big motivator because she like walk. So as 3:30 hit, I hear I think the bang. So I would have said that I'm a motivator this morning.
Okay. What message of hope would you like to share with those fighting cancer right now?
The biggest thing would be to just keep your faith and believe in God, because it will all be over soon. We'll have to fight it.
All right, if you could say one thing to encourage someone to join next year, what would you say?
To encourage someone for next year, it's a great community event, and once you reach the end, or just even during it, it's a great experience. Y'all feel tired? My gosh, y'all feel tired. But it's a great experience.
We also spoke with Belize Cancer Society President Kim Simplice Barrow, who spoke of the turnout and the success of the event. Aisha Trapp, Marketing Manager at Santiago Castillo Limited, also spoke of her company's involvement.
I would say it was a really great turnout this year. I mean, I can really feel the energy from the people. And so it's, I have to say, thanks to the Belizean public for supporting.
Can you walk us through what goes into planning an event of this scale?
You know, I think we've been doing this for so many years that we already have a script. We just keep adding little details here and there to make it a little bit more interesting for our walkers.
Were there any sponsors or partners you'd like to thank to make this possible?
You know what? We want to thank Crystal Water. We want to thank Nando's, Sagicor, BL. We want to thank Sugar Fix Blue. We want to thank all those who supported this country walk. Everyone who came out. Other organizations too, they come out, even though they didn't sponsor, but they showed support by being here.
What do you hope participants walk away with after an event like today?
I hope they walk away inspired, and I hope that they know that they're walking to give hope to those who are fighting this disease. They're walking in remembrance of the people we have lost and celebrating those who have survived.
Santiago Castillo is always a sponsor of the Cancer Walk. So we're at the end of the walk where we give samples of our products. We have some oatmeal bars, we have our Dutch Lady milk, and we also have our peanuts. So many people look forward to having something at the end of the walk, and it's a little incentive to encourage more people because the cause is bigger than all of us. So we want to encourage more people to continue supporting not only today but every day. So support the cause every single day as much as you can. Encourage your family and friends to do their annual checkups.
Cancer survivor Marilyn Skeen shared what helped her battle the disease.
I am very proud to be a survivor because it's a very rough road to go through, but I am so happy that every year, this is my 8th year of surviving cancer, and I feel so happy that I can be a part of this to see other people with cancer too, and especially the supporters who walk every year.
Can you share a bit about your journey? What helped you push through?
Well, one thing I can say is my family's support. That really, really helps a lot because it's like what everybody say, when you have cancer, it's not only you, it's your whole family. And I have a very good family who supports and is always with me and make sure that I am fine, and I make sure I take my meds and like that, and I try to eat healthy. To me, that's the most important thing. Eating healthy and exercise. Those are the things that take me through.
What message would you like to share with others currently battling cancer?
Okay, don't give up. That's the main thing. Don't give up. Try, fight. I know some days will be hard, but it is worth it. It will be worthwhile in the end. Every day is not good and every day is not bad. So you just have to keep on fighting, and most of all, put your trust in the Most High.
And with that, we have come to the end of our newscast. To repeat, can be viewed on this station later tonight at 9 and again tomorrow at midday. Join us again tomorrow for another news broadcast. I am Drea Espinosa. Have a safe and enjoyable evening.